here is my audience. All right. Hello, my name is Alyssa, and today I'm going to be discussing if children should receive free school lunches. In my opinion, I believe that they should. In 2019, Chobani donated almost $150,000 towards one school district in Rhode Island in order to pay off their lunch debt so children could receive hot lunches instead of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Generally, when schools do give substitute meals instead of the hot lunches for students that do have lunch debt, it is generally just a sandwich, a bag of chips with maybe a milk, but nothing really nutritious in it, just more filling. There are school districts struggling in every community with lunch debts. We see it all across America. A lot of schools struggling with lunch debts. Lunch shaming is, as stated by the best schools, a practice of humiliating young school children whose parents are delinquent on payments for cafeteria lunch plans. So basically, in other words, what lunch shaming is shaming children who have not paid their lunch debt, who are not able to pay their lunch debt. We see a lot of times just parents forget or they aren't able to afford it, but that's not their fault. And lunch shaming is just punishing the children in front of their peers and in front of their teachers and everybody because they can't afford school lunches. Children shouldn't have to pay to eat at a place that they're required to attend. They're required to attend school. Schools in return should be required to give them hot meals. Considering students are forced to attend school, it is unfair to not be required to provide them a hot meal. In many instances, schools can give them some sort of lunch that isn't as good as what they would have if they had paid. Many times, it is not the children's fault that they can't pay for their lunch. Anybody who has children or anybody who knows children should want kids to be able to eat at school without worrying if they're being embarrassed by what they're being forced to eat because they could or couldn't afford it. There is a solution. The government provides funds to public schools so that they're able to give all children hot lunches. If the solution wouldn't work, at the very least, schools should give the children the ability to fundraise in order to pay for their hot lunches, just as they fundraise for other things for the school. Many schools implement programs and have students fundraise for them. So if for whatever reason the government didn't want to put taxpayer funds towards these school lunches and to help children pay off their school lunch debts, children could be given the option to potentially fundraise for these hot lunches for them if their parents don't want to pay for their school lunches. Many people object because they don't believe the government should have to provide hot meals for students and that their parents should provide the funding for them to eat. In a perfect world, we would see this, but it's not a perfect world. Parents forget, parents sometimes are just not able to afford it, they can't pay off these lunch debts. However, students are required to go to school as they should be required to provide a hot meal since they have to be there. Schools take it as far as threatening to take children away from their families if they do not pay their lunch bill. Truth Out states in their article, in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, an area with a poverty rate of 13.8%, about 1,000 families received letters in August warning that unless their arrears were paid in full, they could be taken to dependency court for negligence. The result may be your child being removed from your home and placed in foster care. Threaten the missive, which was sent a month before the 2019-2020 school year began. So basically what the school was doing was sending letters out to families saying that if they did not pay off their school lunch debt, that their children could potentially be taken away from them. I don't think this is a good solution. This isn't a good stressor to put on families or their students. Worrying about where your next meal is going to come from is bad enough as worrying if you're going to be taken away from your family because they couldn't afford to pay off your lunch debts. Why should this plan be implemented? If my plan is adopted and put into place, we will see many more children enjoy school. They won't be embarrassed when it comes to lunchtime and having to receive a lesser lunch because they were not able to afford the warm lunches offered. We would see an increase in grades and morale in schools as well. If a child is worrying about where their next meal is going to come from, or if they're hungry, they're not going to be focused on learning. They're not going to be productive. They're probably not going to make good grades. They're not going to want to be involved in sports or activities or anything. They're going to seclude themselves. They're going to be embarrassed as well, especially because school's lunch shame. So I think providing these hot lunches will solve many issues and overall makes making the learning experience and school experience much better for students overall. The Food Research and Action Center states research shows that receiving free or reduced price school lunches reduces food insecurity, obesity rates, and poor health. In addition, the new school meal nutrition standards are having a positive impact on student food selection and consumption, especially for fruits and vegetables. With this being said, the substitute lunches that are provided when students can't provide the money for the hot lunches, these bag lunches have no nutritional value. It's a sandwich, a bag of chips, and maybe a milk. There's no fruits or vegetables or anything in it. It's just the basics. It's just basically a filler there's nothing nutrition in it. It's not going to aid the students in learning either, especially considering they're also going to be embarrassed about the bag lunches provided because it singles them out and that they weren't able to afford the hot lunch. Without implementing this plan, many students will not receive warm lunches and will be embarrassed by having to receive a lesser lunch. This hurts the students, the school in general, and they won't want to be involved, and they are more likely to seclude themselves. School of Education states a lack of regular nutritious meals affects students with physical and mental health. It also impairs their cognitive ability. So as I said before, if students have an empty stomach, they're hungry, they're not going to be concentrating on learning. They're going to be concentrating on the pain that they're feeling in their stomach. They're not going to be worried about learning. They're not going to be worried about concentrating on their schoolwork or being involved with friends or anything like that. They're going to be solely concentrating on the fact that they're hungry and when they'll be able to eat next. Or they'll also be concentrating on the fact that they're embarrassed because of the lunch that they were given. A way to help could be by signing petitions and voting for this to become a law. Signing as many petitions as possible, getting the government's attention that this is something that we want to implement will hopefully get the government to try to pass a bill, and so we could vote on it and hopefully get free lunches for everybody. The public school that I went to actually did have a system where based off your parents' income, you could get free or even reduced school lunches. However, students whose parents didn't qualify for free or reduced lunches still had to pay full price for these school lunches. I don't think that's a good idea. As I said before, even if they're able to afford it, that doesn't take into account their bills, doesn't take into account how many children they have or anything, and the amount of lunches that they are actually paying for. They could be making a decent amount of money, but they could essentially be broke, and they still couldn't afford a school lunch for their child, and their child in turn would be embarrassed. And also with that being said, it's just better overall if it's more stress-free if students are able to be given these free school lunches. So just a little overview of what I talked about today. Children are required to attend school, so they should be given free lunches. Our government should be putting taxpayer money towards student lunches. No student should have to go without a hot meal. With this also being said, the government funds many programs for many different public schools. So I think just adding this one little program in for all schools, and it also helps everybody instead of just a small portion of the student body. This will help everybody. This plan helps many children thrive in school and will help schools prosper overall. Also, remember, vote and sign as many petitions as possible to show our government that this is something that we want. Push the petitions, and then hopefully at some point we'll get to vote and pass this into a law so students will receive free school lunches. So in conclusion, push the government to put requiring school lunches into effect, sign petitions that will help get this law passed and help our children thrive in school, and no student should be forced to go to school to receive a cold and lesser than good lunch when they're required to attend. They're required to attend school. The schools in return should be required to give them a hot meal. And here's my works cited page. And thank you for listening to me speak today.